Hello, everyone. Welcome to New Gen Politics. So, today, Kamala Harris gave some comments about her opponent, Donald Trump, and they're pretty extreme. So, let's take a listen real quick, and then I'll talk about it a little bit.
Yesterday, we learned that Donald Trump's former chief of staff, John Kelly, a retired four-star general, confirmed that while Donald Trump was president, he said he wanted generals like Adolf Hitler had. Donald Trump said that because he does not want a military that is loyal to the United States Constitution. He wants a military that is loyal to him. He wants a military who will be loyal to him personally, one that will obey his orders even when he tells them to break the law or abandon their oath to the Constitution of the United States. In just the past week, Donald Trump has repeatedly called his fellow Americans the enemy from within, and even said that he would use the United States military to go after American citizens. And let's be clear about who he considers to be the enemy from within. Anyone who refuses to bend a knee or dares to criticize him would qualify, in his mind, as the enemy within, like judges, like journalists, like nonpartisan election officials. It is deeply troubling and incredibly dangerous that Donald Trump would invoke Adolf Hitler, the man who is responsible for the deaths of 6 million Jews and hundreds of thousands of Americans. Donald Trump is increasingly unhinged and unstable.
So, basically, Trump is Hitler, right? Nothing new there, right? We've heard that for the last decade. Donald Trump is Hitler, sometimes worse than Hitler. He wants to round people up. He wants to use the military. He wants to take total control. If you have to say this in the final weeks of a campaign, that you're not running on policy anymore, you're not running on a platform, you're not running on who you are as an individual, your sole path to the White House is tearing down your opponent and saying they're just Hitler. That's just desperate. This is pure desperation. If you I don't know how you could misconstrue this any other way. If you have to say that your opponent is just unhinged and crazy and a threat to democracy and an existential threat and whatever, you clearly have no policy. She's not running on policy. Then this campaign has never been, I've said this before, this campaign has never been about Kamala Harris. It hasn't. It's not Kamala Harris versus Donald Trump. The entire election of 2024 is, are you going to vote for Donald Trump or are you going to vote against Donald Trump? That's it. Doesn't matter who was running on the Democratic side. Could have been Kamala, could have been Pete Buttigieg, could have been Whitmer, could have been Newsom. Didn't matter, because the election's not about them. It's not about the candidate that the Democrats put up, their policies, how great they are. All it is the Stop Trump party. That's all they've become. Stop Trump. He's evil. He's Hitler. He's worse than Hitler. Whatever. And it's not working anymore. There's a reason that this has not worked in the past. There's a reason he got elected. When you call him Hitler and you call his supporters, followers of Hitler, or you call them a basket of deplorables like Hillary did, it emboldens them. They see you she said there's an enemy within. Yeah, they see you as the enemy within. That's the reality. The mainstream media goes against the people. The government goes against the people. They see you, the elitist class, as the enemy within. And for anybody to sit here and pretend that the government is always on your side, and they're not an enemy to the people in any way, shape, or form. They always know what's best for you, and they always do what's best for you. Are you kidding? Both sides of the aisle should agree that that is certainly not the case. And so when Trump says there's an enemy within, that's the enemy that is trying to persecute him, send him to prison, trump up charges, go after his supporters, try to literally kill him. Whether they actually did it or just via their rhetoric saying he's an existential threat that must never be close to power. I don't know how much clearer of a message you can send that this is, a dangerous person that needs to be dealt with. They don't take any responsibility for that. Even after the both of those incidents, they say, oh, well, he needs to tone down his rhetoric, because he is Hitler and therefore he needs to stop acting like Hitler. It's like you guys are the ones calling him Hitler. I don't like how does this make sense to you? How is this not adding up? But it's not working. Clearly, if she had policy, she'd be running on it. If she had a platform or a personality, she'd be running on it. But no, it's just Trump is Hitler. Vote against Hitler. That's the Democratic Party. That's it. It has nothing to do with their policies, their platforms. They've constantly been changing their agenda over the last decade because all they care about is going against Trump. That's it. They have a weird obsession with this man. And Donald Trump is just not that guy. He's not a dictator. If you noticed, he's running for president. If you noticed, he was president. So how did that happen? How did he go from being president and allegedly a dictator to now running for president again after stepping down from power? Even if you say you threw him out of office, like, okay, so you have the power to throw him out of office. So maybe he's just not that powerful. Maybe he's not actually a dictator. He didn't do it the first time. Why should I believe he's going to do it this time? It's just absurd. And it's a line of logic that people aren't buying. Like I don't think it sways any votes. If you don't have an opinion on Donald Trump at this point, where have you been for the last decade? I get if you're indecisive about voting for him or against him based on policy or what you think might be better, grass is greener, evil I know. That's an understandable position. But if you have no opinion on Donald Trump whatsoever, where have you been? If you don't already think he's Hitler, how is Kamala Harris coming out and saying he's Hitler going to change your mind? Do they really think that people are going to listen to her and say, oh my gosh, she's right. I've been wrong for the last decade. Trump is Hitler. No, it's not going to happen. It's not going to sway any votes. And it's just a pure sign of desperation, right? You can judge your own strength or how your strength is perceived by the moves of your enemy, right? On the battlefield, basically. If your enemy is wary of you, you're strong, right? Or you appear to be strong. If they can't run and beat you on policy, which clearly they can't because they'd be talking about it, clearly it means your policy is better. They don't have any policy. If they're this desperate that they have to resort to the "You're Hitler" card, then it's over. Like they clearly don't have anything left in the bag, and they're running on a strategy that has failed repeatedly. Again, this won't change anybody's mind. Nobody is going to wake up and say, oh my gosh, I finally get it. Trump's Hitler. Like, finally, I realize I see the light. It's just not going to happen. So I don't know. It shows major desperation to me. I wish that she would come out and give some policy, maybe. Maybe there'd be a chance she could win, but it's just looking worse and worse for her. And when you see these moves they make where they have to resort to basically just entire speeches about ad hominems, even in her interviews and debates, if you look at her interview with Brett Baer, all she ever talked about was Trump. Like, she couldn't get enough of him. He's on her mind 24/7, right? Trump this, Trump that. It's like, what about your policy? Well, my policy's better than Trump. What is it? Well, it's not Trump's, and that's what makes it better. Right? Like, there's nothing about her or her policies that is running in this election. It's all the not Trump party. It's never Trump. That's all they care about. And for some reason, they have this obsession with this man who's really not that powerful. He really doesn't want to seize power. He's just not that guy. He's not that strong. He's not that charismatic where he's going to like convince people to do bad things or whatever. Not that he's even inclined to. It's just a weird, bizarre belief that you're trying to compare him to Hitler and trying to make him sound like he wants to be Hitler or whatever. Like, yeah, he said he wanted generals that like do what he says as commander-in-chief. I'm pretty sure every leader in the world wishes they had subordinates who would do what they say. That doesn't mean he says he never wants to be challenged. He never wants input from other sources. And yeah, a lot of times he misspeaks or he says something he shouldn't. Like, there's times he just blatantly says stuff he shouldn't. I get that. And you can not like that. That's fine. But does that mean he's comparable to Hitler? No, I don't think so. And they're also comparing him to Stalin, comparing him to Mussolini. They're not comparing him to Mao for some reason, even though Mao was like the worst of them all. Very bizarre. And I don't think people are buying it. I've seen this song and dance before. It hasn't worked out. People still love him. The more you double down on how much you hate him, the more it kind of enforces his point that, like, I'm the outside man and there's this small group of elitists who run the government and the media and Hollywood who hate me and they have the secret agenda and they're trying to cancel me and arrest me. And like even in the video, she's like, oh, he's gonna go after his political opponents. Like, oh, like you're doing? Oh, but he deserves it because he's Donald Trump. You know, he's orange, so he's got it coming. Like everything you accuse him of doing, you have done. The censorship. Trump hasn't done that. You have with the media censorship. We know the Biden campaign coerced Zuckerberg into censoring stuff on Facebook and other outlets. We know that. We can see the media cover for her, swapping out answers in 60 minutes. You know, this is giving her the questions, allowing her to use teleprompters during town halls. Like, we know this stuff. The moderators covering for her, fact checking, quote unquote, Donald Trump. Somehow, like, that institution is totally benevolent and always on your side and not like the enemy within, the enemy of the people. Seriously? Like when Donald Trump's saying the enemy within, he's not meaning like your average liberal Costco worker. He's talking about the people who work in the federal government, who make your laws, who control your lives. The people who did the whole COVID thing, shut that down, ruin your lives for a couple of years. Those are the people who are enemies of the people. It's very clear the government doesn't represent the people anymore. That's why people like Trump, because he's an outsider. Kind of less so now, but he still represents the average American in their eyes. And you can believe that and say that's not true and say it's lies, but I'm just telling you, that's what they believe. They believe Trump has their best interest in mind. They trust him. They think he's a strong leader. They think he's a moral leader. And again, you can say that's all lies, but saying it's lies does not change what people believe. Calling him Hitler does not change what people believe about him, their perceptions of him. They really trust him. They have faith in him. And you're not going to take that away. You haven't for the last decade by saying he's like Hitler. It doesn't work. So if you want to convince somebody of something, kind of understand their thought process first of all before you can even try and coerce them into something. But they can't. They don't understand the thought process of the average conservative American. They have no idea. They're so out of touch. They don't know what they want. They don't know what they believe in. They don't know why they believe it. But still, they think that they can convince them that their entire worldview is wrong. The person they elected or believe in is evil and somehow worse than literal people who killed millions, tens of millions of people somehow. I don't get it. I don't think anyone's falling for it. This was not going to do anything to the poll numbers. In fact, it probably will double down and make people more confident that she has no idea what she's talking about. She has nothing to talk about. And we'll just have to wait and see. So that's my thoughts on this. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.